Hello and welcome to this episode of Grant Thornton's In Conversation With podcast. I'm Richard Waite, People and Culture Director at the firm, and I'm really passionate about early careers and trainee recruitment, and it's where I started my career with the firm back in 2010. I'm really excited today to be joined by Sarah Ironmonger and Aqsa Mansoor, and we're going to be talking about the importance of external networks, tapping into advice from parents, guardians, friends, older siblings when it comes to making decisions about your next steps when it comes to career or more learning. But before we get into the content, let's start with some introductions. Sarah, I'll come to you first.
Thank you, Richard. So I'm an audit partner in our public sector audit team, which means we audit local government and the NHS. But I joined Grant Thornton in 2012, having trained elsewhere, but I started my career as a placement student. And similar to many people listening to this, I've got children of a similar-ish age. I've got one graduating this month and one in sixth form. So some of these conversations are very, very real.
I'll bet. Aqsa.
I'm Aqsa. I am a placement student, so I'm studying accounting and finance at City University of London.
I think what's super exciting is that we're going to get both perspectives today, the kind of your perspective, Aqsa, in terms of how you tapped into that broader support when thinking about what you wanted to do in terms of your career, and Sarah, those conversations that you're having with your young people as they approach these really kind of important decision-making points in their own lives. But I guess before we get started with the content, a few easy questions to get us started with. Have you got 3 words that best describe your career with Grant Thornton to date, and the 3 skills that make you really great at your job? Aqsa, I'll come to you first.
I think for my career so far, I would say progressive, ambitious and driven. And then for my skills at Grant Thornton so far, I would say close attention to detail, or precise in one word. Detailed and confident.
Great. Sarah?
So slightly longer career, so it gives me a few more options. There's been some really unexpected items, all been great. Ability to thrive, something that's a thriving space, and changing, everything changes. So the skills, I think, I love talking to people, so I just love the people to be able to communicate and to chat to people. I would go attention to detail as well, we're both in audit, and just flex, the ability to swap from a people issue to an audit issue to a business issue, flex. So those are the skills that make me good at what I do.
Thank you both. Aqsa, so I guess you've gone through the decision-making process quite recently as to kind of whether you do a school leaver programme, whether you go to university, should you do a placement year, should you just kind of continue with your friends who aren't doing placement years. And I understand that your mum's been really pivotal in kind of helping you navigate those big life decisions. Can you talk to me about what that's looked like in terms of that support and those conversations that you've had?
Yeah, sure. So I think growing up, university was the norm. Everyone finished college and everyone just went to university and everyone just got a degree. And I think for my mum, especially because of the fact that she had not been to uni, she always wanted me to go. And so for that reason, I decided I was going to go to university. I decided I was going to study accounting and finance, and then that was it. I think it's really important to definitely decide what works for every individual. Everyone is so different. There's apprenticeships and you can do the same thing. You could come out with the same qualifications, and it's just great that someone can do an apprenticeship for 5 years and have the ACA qualification. I could finish my degree, come back to Grant Thornton, and have my graduate role here and still come up with the ACA qualifications. So it really is so dependent on who you are as an individual, what you want to do, what experience you want to have, if you're someone who wants to go straight into work or if you want to go to university.
It's such a big decision, isn't it? Because if I think back to when I went to university, it felt like the natural thing to do. Fast forward a number of years, I'm not quite sure I'd make the same decision. I think a school leaver programme might be more appealing to me right now. I guess, why a placement programme?
I think it's really important to know what you're going into and what you're studying for. It's all great and fun to have accounting and finance on your CV or to say that this is what you studied at uni and then have many different part-time jobs. But it's so different to have a full-time job in the industry that you're working in. And I think that this opportunity was so different to my part-time jobs. And if I hadn't done this, I wouldn't know what would be expected from me. And so I decided that I wanted a year to see what working life is going to be like after I graduate.
I guess it's that fast track early insight into what the graduate programme looks like to make sure that you're really up for it, you're at the right place, it fits for you. I guess how are you finding it so far?
I think it was definitely very hard at the beginning. Switching from university life where you're tracking your own day, tracking your own timetable, deciding what you want to do, whereas you come to Grant Thornton and you have a timetable for you. You're especially in audit, we have this is the client you're working on today and this is what you're doing today, and at the beginning you'll be coached by several different people, and it's very, very different. And my first 3 months here were very difficult, waking up at God knows what time in the morning, getting ready and doing it Monday to Friday every single day without a break was different. But now that I've settled in, having a structure to the day is great. It's taught me how I will go back to uni and apply the same skills. So it's really good to see how it's worked well in my favour.
And Sarah, thinking about the new associates that you've got in your team, how do you find them making that transition from uni or school life into working life, and any top tips that you've got or that you share with them in terms of how they can be successful?
I mean, I think I pick up what Aqsa says. We know it's incredibly intense. Those first 3-4 months is hugely intense, and I think anyone around them is really helping them to recognise it's okay for it to feel a little bit much because you're working 5 days a week, but actually you're meeting all this new team for the first time, so you're getting to know them. You've got your peers around you, you're getting to know them. You may not have done accounting, so you're going off to college, learning a new skill, but in between you're in work, learning a new task, and you've not done any of that. That is actually quite a lot. I think the biggest thing is acknowledge that. Just know it is intense for those first 3-4 months. Support them, help them to know actually it does get better. It really does. The September starters, actually when you come back in January, you'll be doing tasks where you go, oh, I do know what I'm doing. Oh, I have done this before. And part of the overwhelm is because people really want to do well, and it's their drive to do well. We love that because that we can absolutely work with and nurture. So it's a good thing, it's hard to get through.
And we've heard Aqsa share some of the stories about the conversations that she's had with her mum as she's been figuring out what's next. Does she want to go to university? Does she not want to go to university? Does she want to do a placement year or not? You've got young people who are sixth form, university. How are those conversations going with your young people, and how are you supporting them?
Yes, I mean, I think I'd start with, for the parents listening to this, well done, because you've parented your young person into a job. My one who is graduating doesn't have a job because she's not applied for any. So the conversations are live and active. It's really all about, for me, it's about what makes them tick. How do they get motivated? What are they good at? What do they enjoy? Because we've all done bits and pieces of work where we know we're not enjoying it, and we know the difference for when we're thriving, and actually helping them ask those questions, helping tease it out of them because they don't know about what different options are, and getting them to look and explore. And so that's really how I approach those conversations. So yeah.
Great. And Aqsa, I'm guessing that support from your mum didn't stop the day you started working, right? I guess that support runs through. So how is your mum supporting you now that you're in work, and how's that looking?
Okay, so I think definitely at the beginning it was really hard for my mum to understand that I'm not in a lesson and I am working. She would come home, and even now I get the same question. So what time do you finish today, is the question. And I think it's really important that my mum, it was really important for me to make my mum understand that I am now working, and I'm not in education at the moment. And it's I think it's really dependent on the conversations you have with your parents, and I advise everyone to have these conversations with your parents and tell them what you're doing and keep them updated, because especially because my mom's not from a corporate background, she doesn't have a corporate job, and she doesn't understand, or she didn't rather at the beginning, that I was in these client meetings, or now I'm having a meeting with my team, and if there is something I started at the beginning of the day, I do have to hand it over, for example, at the end of the day. So just things like that. I think educating my mum was really important, and now she's come around to the other side of it, and she understands what I'm doing. She understands that I have these difficult conversations, and maybe once my day's finished, you know, sometimes I'm not in a happy mood because I finished everything I wanted, and sometimes a little bit frustrated. And she understands, and she has these conversations with me, and she wants to understand what I'm doing. So I think I'm really grateful that I took that opportunity to educate her, because now she knows how I'm feeling.
And those external networks are super important, right, Sarah? So thinking about the associates in your team, how do you see that they're supported more broadly in terms of their career at the firm and getting through the tough exams? It's really full on, right? For the first 3 years if you're a graduate, 5 years if you're a school leaver. How are people tapping into their external support network to get them through it?
So, and they are talking to their friends, within the firm, actually, their peers, and the networks you make there. But it's also the friends, the family, the siblings. Yeah, it's really important that they can talk about what's going on, what their environment is, because the workplace has changed hugely in the time I've been working. Even those simple things about dress code, what do you wear on different days? What we wear in the office is going to be different to the turning up to a client. And it's those behavioural pieces that can trip people up. And if you talk to other people around, you can start to kind of hone your judgment skills. So a lot of it is talking to people, listening to them, what are their experiences. They will have a network of people, but actually people that are just a bit further ahead are ideal people to talk to because they've done something, they've been through it. I'd also say actually use the network within the firm. You know, everybody will have a people manager. People managers, part of their job is to really look out for you and to answer those questions. But talk to the senior people around you, because we all like talking to people. We're really happy to have conversations about careers. It certainly is one of the bits I enjoy in my role, is being able to sit down and talk to somebody who's going, I don't really know what the options are, because there's so many when we're such a multidisciplinary firm, and it's really about what do they want, and then trying to redirect them and introduce them to people. So, yeah.
And it's such a good point, isn't it? Because not all of us have that external network or supportive friends or parents who understand what it is that we're doing. So being able to tap into those internal networks is really important as well. So Aqsa, thinking about those internal networks and support structures, how have they helped you since you've joined?
I think at the beginning it's really scary, I would say, because you don't know anyone and everyone around you is a stranger. But I ended up talking to everyone, and everyone here is just so nice. Everyone wants to talk to you, and you know, you can go up to anyone and ask a question. No one will tell you, you know, why are you asking me this? Everyone wants to talk to you, and I have definitely built my connections, not just on LinkedIn, but in person as well. I think I just walk into the office so much happier because I know so many different people, and each conversation is so different, and it really depends who you're speaking to, and different experiences that people have had. Speaking to a director and hearing their journey, that they've been here since, you know, they've been at Grant Thornton since the very beginning, or people that have moved around and then come to Grant Thornton. So just hearing the lovely things about Grant Thornton itself has made it really beneficial while I've been here, and just different experiences from everyone.
So we've heard about the importance of external networks, but internal networks being really important as well. So if you think about the associates joining your team, Sarah, things like tapping into the buddy network, people managers, the trainees in the year above them, how do you see that coming to life, and how are your associates tapping into that support that exists across the firm?
So partly, yeah, absolutely use your associate people manager, because they are looking after loads of associates and they really, really want to. But actually, building on what Aqsa says, everyone's really willing to talk to you. When I did my stepping up to partner, preparing for that, I contacted loads of partners, never met them, never had anything to do with them before. They all were really willing to give me half an hour. So everybody is willing to do that. We'll often talk to new associates about trying not to be really competitive with the person next to you, because you're actually being assessed as an individual, and it's not about did this person have the opportunity and I didn't. It's about what's right for you. So yes, tap into those networks, talk to people, go and find what you want. Don't wait for it to come to you. If you think something really interesting is going on, so I might come back from a meeting and be talking to a manager, say, oh, and we did this and this happened, and an associate sits there and goes, oh, I don't understand that. Actually, we're really happy to stop and go, oh, well, let me explain that, because there's usually a lot more richness to what we're doing than sometimes as you join as an associate you can see from it. It's about how it all connects together. So really, and just talk to people in the office, as Aqsa said. The big open plan offices, they are, everyone books their desks, sort of hot desking process. You don't know who you're going to end up sat next to, so talk to them. There'll be a different service line, there'll be a different grade, they'll be working on different clients. That's how you build those networks. And volunteer for things. If you see it on the intranet, comment, follow up, contact someone. So yeah.
And Aqsa, you're coming towards the end of your placement programme, and you said the first 3 or 4 months were quite difficult, but how have you found the rest of the programme once you found your feet?
I think it definitely feels more like a routine now. It feels good to wake up now every morning, because it's just part of the routine. This is just what I do now. And I think every day can be so different in terms of, again, the booking in audit, especially the bookings you're on, the clients you're working with. And it's just about planning your day. I think definitely something I'll be taking forward, and hopefully when I come back as a grad, I want to implement as well, which is planning your day. It's just so important, because I feel like if you don't have a structure at the beginning of the day, you're left wondering, well, what is it that what am I really completing today? So I think that's a big takeaway for me. And it definitely feels like home. It feels talking to everyone and just coming in, seeing familiar faces. I think definitely doing something I enjoy as well. Grant Thornton isn't just about working 9 to 5. There's so many different committees that you can join and so many different things that you can be part of. There's like sustainability, again, like Sarah said, like volunteering you can do. There's just so much more, and that's how you build your connection as well, through these committees and getting to know people and just messaging out if there is something that interests you.
Great. And Sarah, at the beginning you talked about the 3 skills that made you successful in your career to date. So if you're thinking about associates or people who are watching this who might be thinking about applying to one of our programmes, who might be joining very soon, what do you think are the skills, could be 3, could be more, that would make them really successful for when they join?
I think being curious, really asking questions and understanding, that's definitely something that just sees you through all the time, to understand and to, because you don't know what work looks like if you've not done it. So ask the questions. I think there's something else around just very much being yourself, having the confidence to communicate and keep talking. You know, I often say to associates, we won't necessarily know if you're finding something difficult if you don't tell us. But if you tell us, we can talk about it, we can work, we can flex, we can do something about it. And I think actually you just said that about every day is different. Every day is different. That's why I love it. I love the fact that even if my diary is packed, you're still not quite sure what some of those elements are going to be each day. And for some people, they need the structure of everything following a set timetable. I've found in audit, being able to respond to clients, the unexpected, is the bit that keeps it really engaging for me. So just learning how to do all of that. I think the other thing I will often say to new associates is, actually, you're an adult. This is an adult-to-adult conversation. This is not a teacher or parent-child. So if something's not working for you, you do need to say, we need to have a conversation, because it could be anything from we can easily solve that to well, maybe there's a misunderstanding of expectations here, and we just all need to get a bit closer to those expectations and understanding. And yeah, so adult to adult, and just talk, and we can find a solution. Almost always find a solution.
And as a parent who's got young people at home yourself, if there's any parent or guardian or carers watching this who've got young people about to kind of embark into the world of work for the first time, what would your advice be to the parents, guardians and carers in terms of what they can do best to help support their young people?
So I think listening to them, really hearing what it is like for them, and because sometimes when everything's just a bit much, you're not quite sure what it is that's wrong. So help them to sort of tease that out, because as parents and guardians, you know your young person much better than we do. You will spot the signs when actually something's not quite working, or they're thriving, whichever way, and help them to identify that and encourage them to ask and to come and talk to us. And you know, every so often there's lots of people are busy. You might ask someone and you're not really comfortable that the answer is in line with everything else you've said. Well, don't be afraid to just check in with somebody else. It's those sorts of skills that actually as adults you learn not necessarily to take no the first time and just to understand. You know, it's just about helping them, hearing them, and actually they will be really tired the first few weeks and months. You may need to just help them adjust to that pace.
Yep. Aqsa, you said that those first 3 or 4 months were quite difficult and quite challenging, and maybe at points you were like, gosh, have I made the right decision? Is this right for me? Talk to me about how your mum supported you through that time, and I guess how you've come out the other side of that place that you were.
I think definitely at the beginning, the first 3 or 4 months that I said were so difficult, I was sort of deciding if audit was for me, if full-time work was for me, and I think it was the change which was impacting me the most. Not having done full-time work before really impacts you, and it was definitely not at that stage audit, it was the full-time work change. And I think speaking to my mum and telling her how intense it was getting for me, and, you know, she kept me motivated. She kept telling me that it was going to be okay, and you'll find your feet eventually, you'll know what you're doing. And I think definitely now, I think it's my 11th month in, it's nearly finished, but I actually walk into work knowing somewhat what I'm doing for the day, and I know what things are, I know what things mean now. They don't just sound like words to me. I actually have an understanding of them. Once you find your feet, it truly does get better. So having that conversation with my mom was good, because she kept me motivated.
So Sarah, being a people manager and a leader within our business and supporting associates in your team, and being a parent of young people at home, how have the two kind of impacted one another, and how are you supporting your associates, I guess, being a parent and knowing what you know with your young people outside of work?
Yeah, I mean, because it's your life, it just integrates, it integrates completely. I think there's a lot around the understanding just the pressure of university and school life, and how hard some of those exams have been. So I did a call with some of the people that are joining our team in September, and the first thing was like, well done, you've turned up, because actually finals are really intense. We know that. We actually also then remember that when you're doing your exams, it's really intense. So there's a bit of understanding that, bringing it back in, checking in with the students in the run up to exams. Are you all right? Are you balancing work and studies well enough? I think there's a bit of, because you have young people around, you tend to hear what they're talking about. So get those music influences, and I don't necessarily watch everything that they're watching, but I can certainly have a conversation about some of the very common series that everybody's watching. So it's that sort of thing, and it's about just helping break those barriers down so that they feel, as I said before, adult to adult conversations. Actually, yes, I may be senior in hierarchy, which is important in audit because we have very different roles, but actually, in terms of running the business, we're all people, and it just helps break those barriers down and makes people feel they can have those conversations. So that's
Great.
what I would say.
Thank you. Thank you both for joining me today and for sharing your insights. I know that our new trainees, people thinking about joining one of our trainee programs, will have found your stories really, really, really useful. We know how important internal and external networks can be to helping us all flourish. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining today's episode of Grant Thornton's In Conversation With podcast series. We look forward to welcoming you to one of our future episodes very soon.